And he looks at the floor, he looks at me, he looks at the floor again, looks at me and goes, "You have really pretty feet." Hi beauties, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be spilling the tea on the time I got catfished and I thought I was falling in love. Before we jump into the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get started, y'all. Okay, y'all, so this happened a few months ago. I'm not gonna say anybody's name in this because I don't want him to figure out who I'm talking about, though once I say the experience, I'm sure he knows if he's watching. Okay, y'all, so a little background information on like me and my dating life. I am not a huge dater. I don't really jive with love like that. I'm very picky on who I want to be with. I genuinely am okay being alone. And I really like just like being by myself and honestly working on securing the bag. That's genuinely all I've been thinking about for like the past 2 years. Before then, okay, maybe I dated around a little bit, but other than that, I genuinely have not been hitting the streets as much. So a few months ago, I was bored. I was on Tinder and I was just, looking around, seeing what was around me. I was actually home instead of like being at school, which makes things a little bit more interesting, though I usually put my miles really far out because anybody circulating in the Easton area, I do not want. So I was scrolling through and I like saw this kid and I was like, okay, he's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Nothing to write home to mama about, but he's fine for the moment. So I swiped on him, blah, blah, blah. We start messaging and like it wasn't going how usual Tinder conversations go. Like if you're on the app, you probably know that like a bunch of people on there, they just, want to hook up and that's it. And I'm usually cool with whatever, but at the same time, if somebody can give me a good conversation, I usually pay attention more. So this kid was giving me so much good conversation, always had like a question. I rarely had to like come up with something to talk about before he was like moving the topic on to something else. He wanted to learn like a lot about me. He thought I was beautiful and I loved it. And I just was like, okay, it's not my norm. I usually go for like bad boys. So I was like, this time I'm going to go for the nice kid. Never again. So we're talking, whatever. At some point it moves to like texting and like whatever. We're texting. Then I kind of like ghosted him for a couple days just because like, I don't know. We were talking so much and like really conversating that it started to like freak me out. Commitment issues. So I was like, listen, I'm good. Let me just do my thing for a minute. And like, if he's still there after a couple days, then maybe it was meant to be. Well, he was there after a couple of days, even though I was like, I'm sorry, like I've just been really distracted. Like I've been with my friends. I haven't really been like on my phone or anything, whatever. And so we start talking again and like the conversation again is just like going, like he always has something to talk about. He's always asking me questions. We have so much in common. And I'm like, I may have found Mr. Right. I'm like texting all my friends who like know that I don't like usually go out and like date or anything. I'm like texting them like, guys, I think I might have found the one. Like this is making me feel weird. And they're all like, yes, like they were so excited for me. Because they know that this is not what I usually do. Like, if anything, it's like a once and done and move on type of thing. Not like I'm actually still talking to you and we have like amazing conversation. So after talking to this kid for maybe about 3 days constantly, he finally has a night off of work and we're like, okay, like we should meet up. Like I was like, I'll know once I get there, like I'll know if the vibe is still right, like blah, blah, blah. Not at all thinking that he may not look exactly how I thought he was supposed to look, but I'm just like, you know what? Let me just go meet him and see what the tea is. So he's trying to like come to my house and I'm like, listen, I don't invite anybody over to my house. My parents are Black and strict and I am like the baby girl. There's absolutely no way I can just be like, yeah, come over. No. And also I don't bring guys to my house to like meet my parents anyway. Like honestly, I don't think my parents have ever met anybody I've been with except maybe one person, but that's besides the point. Moving on. So because I'm not like that, I was like, no, like you really shouldn't come over here. I was like, but I can come to you. And so he was like, yeah, you can come over. That actually makes it easier. Like I only live with my mom, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go for the night, I'll come back, whatever. So it becomes the night that like I'm going, and I have texted all of my friends. I'm like, hey, like this is where I'm going. It's kind of far from my house. It's kind of like up in the Poconos area. And I'm like, this is where I'm going. My location is on. I start to get this idea in my head that he's going to kill me and that he's not actually who he says he is. And though I went through with it anyway, I was honestly freaking out. I was like calling my friends like, I don't think I can do it. And they're like, what is wrong with you, dude? Like, go do it. Like, it's really not, you're making it a bigger deal than it is. Like, we all have your location. If you don't text us within like the first 10 minutes, like we'll send a search party. Like, it's totally fine. This is how you meet people in the modern day and age. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is what all the kids are doing. So I decide to like go, whatever. And like, right before I get there, I like call him and I'm like, hey, like, you know, like I'm basically here. Like, you know, I just need to like hear your voice. You know what I mean? Like, let me solidify that it's you. Even though like we had Snapchatted. It's not that we didn't Snapchat, but because we had only been talking for 3 days, like I'm a Snapchatter, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm on here. So clearly I like a good picture. But also he was like, I'm not really into like taking pictures, but like here are some pictures of me. And like, you know, he sent me pictures and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like not everybody is into pictures. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't weird to me that he wasn't like, that he didn't have like, you know, the best, you know, lighting to show me everything. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever. And there's something else about the pictures too, but I'm gonna wait to tell you that. So basically, so I'm like, okay, like I'm calling him, he answered, he sounds chill over the phone. I'm like, okay, this is fine, like whatever. And I'm like, you live in the woods? And he's like, yeah, I live in like almost racist territory. I said, honestly, that is what it feels like to me. I get there and I'm like on the phone with him and I'm like, he has like a really long driveway and it's obviously dark outside, like it was nighttime. And I can see him though, like at the end of the driveway. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Like, is he gonna come up to the car? Like that's what I expected him to do. And nobody's at his house, by the way, but there's a lot of cars in the driveway. It's very weird. Anyway, so I pull in, I'm on the phone with him and he's like, yeah, he's like, just come inside. And I was like, okay. So I'm walking towards the door and I'm like, well, why isn't he coming outside? Y'all, I rounded the corner to go into his house and I was just like, no disrespect to this kid. He is super, super nice. But y'all, that is not the man in the photos. I literally was like, my whole body just like shut down. I went into straight panic mode. He's like, you want me to give you a house tour? I'm like, okay. So he walks me through He walks me through his house and literally like it was room after room after room, like rooms where rooms shouldn't be. And then he's like, you're super pretty. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, no, like seriously, like you're gorgeous. I can't even believe that you're here. And in my head, I'm like, me neither, sweetheart. Me neither. So at the end of this little tour, first of all, he tried to take me through the house and like some of the lights in the rooms weren't working. And I'm just like, Tyra, where are you? Like, this is why you don't do this. So I'm like, do you have a bathroom? And he's like, yeah, come on. It's right here. And I was like, okay. So I go in the bathroom. I immediately texted my friends. I said, I'm fine, y'all. Like, I didn't feel threatened by this kid at all whatsoever. I could have taken him. If it was really that deep, we could have thrown hands and I would have been fine. But it really wasn't like that. He wasn't trying to do anything. He was genuinely very nice. So I'm texting my friends. I'm like, I'm fine, y'all, but I have to get out of this situation now. My friends are like texting me back, but like it's hard because now like I'm like, Tyra, get out of the bathroom. Like you can't just sit in the bathroom. So I come up with this plan in my head. I'm like, I'm just gonna tell him that like my stomach really hurts and that like, I don't know, I'm on my period and I just have to go. So I'm like, okay. So my friends are texting me like, do you want me to call you? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to call you? What's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, I cannot answer any of you. Like right now I am in straight panic mode. I cannot feel my toes. I need to get out of this situation now. So I'm like sitting on the edge of his bed, literally like the edge. I have half a butt cheek on his bed and the rest of me is off. And he's looking at me. He's just like, you are so beautiful. You are so beautiful. Like, oh my God. And I'm just sitting here like it was almost like I was with like a fan. That's what it felt like. It was so awkward. Like I couldn't say the same about him because he just wasn't what the picture showed. The picture showed a certain person and he was not it. And I was just sitting there so uncomfortable. I was like, I'm being weird. Like, I know I'm being weird. I know when I'm weird. And I was just like, I'm not being myself. Like, I'm like sitting on his bed. I'm trying to talk to him. I'm also like hinting that I have to go now. And he looks at the floor. He looks at me. He looks at the floor again, looks at me and goes, you have really pretty feet. Absolutely not. I said, you know what? My stomach really hurts and I have to go home. And he's like, really? And I'm like, I have to go home. Home. Like, there's no negotiating. There is no tomorrow. Now, mind you, I'm in the forest, the deep, deep forest. And he's like, yeah, nobody's here. And I'm like, there could be people in the bushes. I don't know where the people are. Like, you know what I mean? He has a driveway full of cars. Like, what? Nobody's here. So I was getting so sketched. And I was just like, I have to go. I have to go. I'm sorry. Hate me, but I have to go. What sucked about the entire situation is that he genuinely was a really, 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 really nice person. A really nice person. So it made me feel really bad to like get there and be like, oh, I absolutely cannot even hang out with you for 30 minutes. Like, I just had to go because from the moment I walked in, I was on alert. Like, I was like, no, I can't do it. You're not who you say you are. And now I'm scared. Now I don't want to be here anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't fun for me. Like, so, but he was such a nice person. I felt really bad. And so he started like getting his own head and be like, oh, like, did I do something? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, did I do something? Like, I feel like you're not comfortable or whatever. And I was like, no, it's really just that, like, my stomach really hurts. And I can't, like, I was like, I honestly can't get it off of my head because it really, really hurts. And I was like, it started hurting before I left, but I thought I could do it. And he was like, oh, do you want to sleep here? Like, you can go to sleep. And I'm like, sleep here? Sleep here? Put my head down and rest enough to go to sleep? Absolutely not, dude. I can't even rest right now sitting up, dude. Like, I can't even rest right now telling the story, let alone you want me to sleep here? I said, I'm really sorry, but I have to go. And the nice guy that he is, he genuinely was like, okay, like, that's fine. I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, I was like, I honestly, like, if I knew I was feeling like this, I would not have come here, like, whatever. So I go to leave and he's like, okay. And I literally, guys, I'm so horrible. I made plans with him the following like Sunday. And I think it was currently Wednesday. And I was making plans with him for Sunday. And I said, yeah, I'll come back on Sunday. I was just trying to find an out, but not make it so that it felt like it was his fault. Because while it was that he didn't really show me who he was, I felt like it was my fault. I felt like it was my fault. I said, Tyra, you're being mean. Like, this is not nice. And so I go to leave and I'm like walking out and I'm just like, he doesn't walk me out. He doesn't come outside, doesn't anything. So I was just like, that's fine. I'm like quick running like back to the car. I open my car, I get inside, I pulled out. And there's no music, there's no navigation, bro. I at least know how to get out of this driveway. And that's honestly all I cared about, being in the safety of my car with the doors locked, driving away. So I call all three of my best friends like separately and I was just like, I got catfished. That's all I can say. I got catfished, y'all. And it's disgusting and horrible that it happened to me. It was just so all my friends were like dying laughing because they know that I don't do this often. I don't just date for no reason. I'm not always on Tinder swiping. And so they're like, the first time they like pushed me to like really just Tyra, like you genuinely like him. Like, you know what I mean? You guys have a good conversation. Like, that doesn't happen with everybody. And like, I know it doesn't happen with everybody because I don't know if I've ever like really connected with somebody like that genuinely. Like, and that's the craziest part. It's like, looks aren't everything, but baby, they are something. Like, They're not everything, but they do matter. And like, I just felt so horrible because I was like, how dare I be like no to him when like, and like, I don't know, but like, you could tell when I got there though, he was punching out of his league. I swear. Like he was like, he literally looked at me and like was just shocked. So when he was texting me before, he was like, I need a picture of you like for my little contact or whatever. And I was like, okay. So I like sent him pictures and I'm like, well, send me some too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, whatever. And he sends me some and like all his pictures now going back, all his pictures are like half his face or like really far back, but like he like genuinely, even though that was the tea, once I looked afterwards, I was also sitting there like, this is still not the same person. Like even that still wasn't the same person that I saw. So he calls me on my way home and I'm just like, okay, I have to block him on everything, delete him off everything because I don't want his pity and I don't want him to like text me and be like, and make me feel bad because I was already feeling bad because I didn't want him to think of himself differently because of the way that I felt, because genuinely, just because he's not attractive to me doesn't mean that he's not attractive to someone else. Just because I think I'm attractive doesn't mean that other people find me attractive. Period. Like, not everybody's gonna find you beautiful, but somebody will. And so I wanted to text him and tell him that, but at the same time, I didn't want any more parts of it. I was just like, get me home. So I ended up blocking him and deleting him off of everything. And then I wake up the next morning, my laptop is like, bing, and it's a message from him after I blocked him that was like, he said, something to the effect of, I obviously wasn't like what you thought I was, and like I honestly apologize. And it made me really sad. It actually really like, it made me upset because I genuinely like don't want anybody to second guess how they look or whatever just because of based off of how I feel. And I know I didn't handle that situation in the most graceful way. I genuinely sat down on his bed after coming back from the bathroom, and the entire time he was talking to me, I wasn't looking at him, and I just kept saying, my stomach hurts, my stomach hurts, my stomach hurts, and I can't get it off my mind. Like, and he was just like, I feel like I did something, and I'm like, my stomach hurts, like not even answering his questions. So I know I didn't handle it in the most graceful, best way, but at the same time, I can't be stuck in no situation. And I felt like my back was against the wall and I had to get out of there. But yeah, no, I mean, moral of the story, y'all, FaceTime the people that you meet off of dating apps before you go. FaceTime them, Snapchat them, talk to them. Make sure that you're not going to get catfished and drive an hour out and spend $20 on gas just to go back home in 10 minutes. Like me. I honestly couldn't believe it though. It was honestly the gaggiest moment of 2020, and that was before 2020 went crazy, so add it to the list. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really hope that you liked this little story time I did. I have so many stories, so I would love to do more. Please let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more, or even if you have like a little topic idea, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, beauties.